Ready to go?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the licensing subcommittee. We're not expecting a fire drill today, but if the alarm sounds, please leave the building through the emergency exits. I don't know where they are, I'll be honest. Never been in this room before.
One of the keys.
It's been a few years, never knew this room exists.
Hopefully the emergency light is suitably.
Okay. The meeting was recorded and uploaded to YouTube following the meeting. Okay, we'll move straight on to appointment of the chair for the subcommittee.
Where's yourself? Second that.
Thank you. Good. Any apologies for absence? Any declarations of interest? Are there any minutes to authorise the chair of the meeting to agree the accuracy and sign the minutes as a correct record following circulation to members of the subcommittee? Proposer for that. Right. Thank you. Good. Okay. We'll now just do a round the table introduction so you know who the are. I'm Simon Carswell. I'm a Somerset councillor for Street.
I'm Marcus Cravis. I'm a Somerset councillor for Dunster Division. I'm Brian Swedler. I'm a Somerset councillor for Bridgewater. Where we're sat.
My name's Simon Guest, licensing officer for Somerset Council. I'm primarily here assisting Kate as this is her first one.
Kate Franks, licensing officer for North. Megan Young, licensing officer for Somerset Council. Just here to observe today.
Ayushi Sharma, I am the Senior Democratic Services Officer and clerk for the Licensing and Regulatory Committee hearings. So I'm just here doing the admin for him. And yeah, that's all.
I'm Jessica Sykes. I'm an immigration officer, covers the west of England, including where we are.
Very much. Esme?
Sorry. Morning, I'm Alex Kershaw-Moore. I'm not Leslie, sorry.
Leslie's the other one, sorry.
Leslie's the other one, yeah. There's two of us, you'll notice that. I'm solicitor for the council and I'm here as legal advisor to the subcommittee today, and I'm supported by.
I'm Gemma Davidson, training solicitor, here to observe Alex.
Okay, thank you all. Right, we're here today. Hold on, quickly. How many agendas quickly? We're here today to consider an application for the review of the premises licence for the Spice Club, 10A East Over Bridgewater, TA65AB. This follows a request for review of the licence by the Immigration Service. Okay, so we'll start off with the licensing officer if they'd like to give their report. Your first meeting, no pressure.
An application has been made by the Home Office Immigration Enforcement in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003 to review a premises licence in respect of Spice Club 10A East Over Bridgewater, TA6 5AB. The premises is an Indian restaurant. The current premises licence has been held by Abul Kalam since the 1st of July 2021. The review application has been submitted in a view to have the premises licence revoked. The review application can be found at Appendix 2 with supplementary information to support the application at Appendix 3. The premises is currently authorised to sell or supply alcohol for consumption on the premises from midday to midnight daily. The provision of late night refreshment from 11 p.m. until midnight, also daily, and the provision of recorded music from midday until midnight, again daily. The current premises licence can be found at Appendix 1. An application to review the premises licence was received on the 7th of April 2025 following 3 visits by Wales and West of England Immigration and Customs Enforcement to the premises, where illegal working had been identified. Home Office Immigration are seeking to have the premises licence revoked as the current licence holder has been found employing illegal workers and no corrective action has been taken following visits from ICE. Today's subcommittee have the following options. A, grant the application to revoke the premises licence. B, modify the conditions of the licence by way of altering, omitting or adding any new ones. Or C, reject the application in whole or part. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have we got any questions of the licensing officer?
I'll ask one.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, really, the current was the first in July 21, yes, and that was by Abdul Kalam.
Yeah.
And is he also DPS?
Here, yeah.
And is he in day-to-day? Is he in day-to-day charge of the premises?
He should be.
No, okay. I suppose you can't argue, so maybe not. But so, but he's only had it since 2021.
Yeah.
Where before that it was 2019 was two of the. It was October, I think. It said October and June 2019. But that was a different premises license holder,
Yeah.
different DPS, possibly. Property still owned by the same people. It's the
I
business. Don't know that.
Business has been operating for many years. So
Yeah, the premises licence has been in effect since 2005.
I think. And I think I'm looking at the papers later on. I think that's probably a question. But the next question is probably a question. Thank you very much.
And did you have a question? Yeah. I'm just to clarify there. So as far as you know, Mr. Kalam, was he responsible for the premises in 2019 when the other visits were made?
No, because he's only been in the host since 2021.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions of the licensing officer? No? Thank you very much. Okay. Right now, Chair will invite the applicant to present their case and call any witnesses. So that's you.
Me.
It says the police in brackets, but you're not the police.
No, please. I think they're aware of it, but they're not in the case.
Okay. So if you'd like to present your case.
Sure. Has everyone had a chance to read
Yes.
the submission pack? Okay. So I'll just go through in a brief introduction as well. So the ability to work illegally is a key driver of illegal migration. It encourages people to break the UK's immigration laws and provides the practical means for migrants to remain unlawfully in the UK. It encourages people to take risks in trying to enter the UK illegally by putting their lives in the hands of unscrupulous people smugglers and leaves them vulnerable to exploitative employers. Illegal working results in businesses that are not playing by the rules and undercutting legitimate businesses that are. It also negatively impacts on the wages of the lawful workers and can be linked to other labour market abuse such as tax evasion, breach of the national minimum wage and exploitative working conditions. Working illegally is a criminal offence and conviction in England and Wales. An illegal worker may receive a custodial sentence of up to 6 months and an unlimited fine. Employing illegal workers undermines licence objectives, specifically the prevention of crime and disorder. And immigration enforcement, just to highlight, we don't drive around looking for businesses to target. We are intelligence led only. There has to be significant concerns for us to act on incoming intelligence, and in this case, to trigger a licence review, which is what I've mentioned here as well. It's not routine. We do it in sort of extreme cases. So just to give a brief summary of the review, as you can imagine, it's quite lengthy because 3 separate occasions we've been 27th of June 2019, 17th of October 2019 and 5th of September 2024. These visits, as I said, were conducted after we've received intelligence that the business was employing illegal workers. So on all 3 enforcement visits, we encountered multiple individuals working at that premises and none of them that we arrested had right to work in the UK. To summarise again, all 3 visits we've been to, we've made a total of 14 arrests. There's a couple of themes that I wanted to touch upon that are sort of present in the visits, specifically repeat offences and repeat offenders. This isn't a first-time offence that I've triggered this licence review on in 2024. Across the 3 visits, as I said, we found illegal workers on every single visit that we went to. 4 males in total were found illegally working on more than 1 occasion. So they are repeat offenders. 3 individuals out of those were arrested twice, and 1 individual was on every single visit that we went to at all 3 occasions. All the offenders also admitted that the employer was aware of them not holding permission to work at the restaurant, and many had proof of this at the restaurant by means of paperwork, some bail paperwork saying specifically you are not allowed to work. Living conditions, it was noted on all 3 visits that the staff are being housed above Spice Club. In some instances, the rent is free or included for working at the premises. This was also noticed on one of the occasions in 2019 that the conditions were poor. They mentioned about walls being damp, and there are about 3 or 4 adults living in each room, small rooms. Previous civil penalties, we have actually imposed civil penalties on the business previously. Off the back of our visit in June 2019, £30,000 civil penalty was issued to Mar Catering Limited, which is the business itself. This was prior to the recent increase of the fines, so at the time that was a significant fine. The party initially objected to the civil penalty in September 2019, but it was upheld and the civil penalty remained at £30,000. In October 2019, we went again off the back of further intelligence, and another £30,000 civil penalty was imposed to the same business, Mar Catering Limited. Both of those instances, the company dissolved after each time, and the penalty was unpaid because of that. So obviously the civil penalty dissolved with the company, and they started up again as a new trading company. In September 2024, in the license review pack, it says that the penalty is still pending. I've actually got an update on that. It is now £180,000 they've issued. So because of the repeat offences, they have managed to sort of evidence employment, contractually employment, rather than just working, and therefore they've been confidently able to issue £180,000 worth of penalties on the business. That's quite recent, so I'm not sure if the actual owner knows about that just yet, which is why I'm a bit glad to break that to him here, but it's £180,000. As I said, the company has never paid any of the sanctions issued to the business by the Home Office. Despite re-registering as the new company, it's clear there is a continuity of staff. You mentioned you didn't know if the same person was in charge previously, but it's clear that the same staff are being employed every single time. And actually, when I spoke to the employer in 2024, he made references to the previous, the license holder, the DPS, and I struggled to get in touch with him. He's out of the country, apparently. So that's one thing I wanted to mention on that one. The business practices, immigration offenders admit to working in exchange for free food, rent-free accommodation and or cash. We do have concerns about labour exploitation for those, because some of them weren't actually being paid at all, and actually they were just getting paid with free accommodation or food. And the ones that were paid well, we worked out that, when that was split across hourly rates, that was well below minimum wage. It was about £7. Again, I mentioned earlier, it's noted in interviews with the workers, the employer was aware of the prohibition to work in the UK and still use them at Spice Club regardless, Spice Club, sorry, which is why we're seeing the same people each time we go. We did ask to see the CCTV in 2024 above the bar area, but the employer did tell me that it wasn't working, and that, to be honest, that would have significantly assisted our investigation. There was one above the bar and at the back of the restaurant, I believe, but there was no lights on, and I asked were they plugged in, and said they weren't working. And linked to that, there are people who have no right in the UK that are serving restricted items such as alcohol. Given the fact that they're not abiding by UK immigration law, it does raise concerns about whether they have the training as well to serve those restricted items to customers. We as the Home Office we would have expected the first time to act as a warning in terms of to change the way they conduct business, do right to work checks, make sure everything was in line. It's clear that hasn't happened, and it's continuously undermining immigration law and the prevention of crime and disorder for licensing. So that's a brief summary, but we, as I said earlier, we are looking to hopefully revoke the licence for this, because he's been found employing illegal workers on 3 occasions. The licence holder has deliberately and repeatedly overlooked the rules and laws in place to prevent the crime and disorder. The licence holder is aware of his responsibilities to uphold the licensing objectives of yourselves, and it's clearly defined as part of the licence application they would have put in to the council. Our report included in the annex evidences multiple enforcement visits where the same people were encountered each time and no corrective action was taken, as you mentioned in your part. You know, it wasn't remedying the situation. You know, by imposing conditions, we don't believe that would assist, because we've sort of given people warnings and we've given them a chance to do and given them advice as well on how to do right to work checks, and clearly it's not done anything. We just, you know, we think that's the only option in this instance. So to summarise, we don't wish to unnecessarily restrict genuine community services and successful pubs, restaurants or shops, but there are concerns, significant concerns, over the way this one is run, as discussed in the past and today. And there needs to be some sort of remedy to that behaviour and a significant way of ensuring this will not be repeated. And it needs to serve a clear message to other businesses who are fully compliant with relevant legislation. The satisfactory action has been taken to protect them as well, in a way. I believe I've mentioned everything to cover, but obviously if anyone has any questions for me about what was found over the 3 occasions, I'll do my best. It is a bit of a lengthy pack. I'm sure you've had a read of it, but I think that's all for me.
Thank you. I move to my colleagues. I've got a couple of questions, which probably don't direct. I'll be told off by the legal officer.
I should see.
Just a small couple of things. Your paperwork isn't brilliant in so much as on page 59, then on page 64, 65, and perhaps later on, I don't know, where you've got the interviews with the various people on the premises.
Yeah.
Their gender is identified as female, but then later on, you call them he the whole time.
Yes.
I assume they were males. That is the box
Yes.
is incorrect.
So I think what's happened, there's a licensing sort of team that deal with putting these packs together. So I think what's happened there is when the officers are out on the ground dealing with these high pressure situations, they have put that and they've corrected it somewhere else. But I think the interview itself was put in the pack, sort of reference to questions. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
And with the fines, if the thing which is reading it did whatever it's called,
Yeah.
dissolved itself, then that's unenforceable against that company.
Yes.
And I don't know whether those fines can be picked up on the new companies. Probably not.
Probably not.
And I'd assume as well that that level of fines, even if they were level against a new company, they probably go into liquidation anyway.
That's kind of why I'm here, really, to try and see if we can do
Yes.
something.
Do we know? So Mr. Kalam is the license holder. And he's also the DPS, but he wasn't.
No.
This is on any occasions you visited.
No.
Do we know where Mr. Kalam resides? I don't need to know an exact address, but do we know where he resides in general?
Sometimes it gives
Yeah.
It's redacted, I think, on there maybe.
It would be as his DPS address, but he is local to Bridgewater.
He is.
Yeah.
So he could be attending. He could be attending me premises. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, right.
The person that I spoke to at the time was a Mohammed Mia, and I think he was in charge at the time, and he was the one that was responsible for hiring.
Okay. And I just question why, if you listen in 2019, the same males working at the premises in 2024, and nothing seems to be done about it in the interim.
So, because depending on what the offence was, some of them had outstanding applications at the time we went. So they are essentially non-removable at the time. So if someone had an outstanding asylum claim, for example, they can't remove them from the UK at that time,
Right.
but they do have bail conditions which clearly say you are not allowed to work.
Yes.
So unfortunately, that's kind of happened a few times, specifically with the person who's been 3 times, I believe. Got it in
Yes.
front of me.
Yes.
And
I've seen
twice.
I've seen their home office cards that say
Yes.
no
Yes.
work, basically. Go to you first, Brian.
I don't know, difficult to know what question to ask, because what you're saying is you want to send a message, but the message here seems to be they can just change and do it again in a different way. Not sure what real message we wanted us to give out of this.
I think civil penalties is one thing, and then license holding and revocation is another thing. And I think that's, you know, because companies are phoenixing, like I mentioned, to just come back up again. And if they list a different director or something like that, they can sort of get around it. But this is kind of our way of saying, you know, there are consequences to doing it.
You just brought in the name Mohammed Mia, which I haven't seen. I don't think I saw it about. Is it in the package?
It's on page
He's
50.
mentioned there.
Yeah,
I just questioned about the different, there's quite a number of names
yeah, there's a lot of names.
in this. Yeah.
Are you aware that all the packages we got were all very heavily redacted, so had hardly any names in at all?
I was not aware of that.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
You wanted to maybe send that, but I'm not sure that's I understand why it was done,
Yeah,
but for the licensing subcommittee, I'm not sure that's very helpful.
no, I can understand why.
Yeah.
I've got a copy of, I mean, I know it doesn't help now, but if
Mm.
anyone wants, I printed it off.
Okay,
Was it,
Would it
were the
help?
names redacted or was it?
every single name, I think,
Yeah,
is
so I think
redacted
it's a bit
in the
clear
package
was
as well.
actually in the papers.
Any sorts of names, addresses, anything that could be used to identify the defendant, all of that was redacted quite heavily in the papers that we received and which were thus
Mm.
subsequently published as
Mhm.
part of the agenda back. So
Yeah, maybe, I mean, it's perhaps a conversation for a different time, but
Yeah.
perhaps there's a different way of doing it.
Mm.
Because obviously we don't want to put that information out on the publication.
Yeah,
obviously,
maybe
but-
that's, yeah.
Mm.
I think, I don't know if it was sent to you, but I think they might have sent a redacted version and a non-redacted version in the initial
Yeah,
email.
that was two versions.
Those two versions, yeah.
It's okay, so maybe I need to talk to you guys then. We don't do it right now, it's fine.
Okay, so Brian, sorry, do you have any other questions?
Well, no, that's the redacted I've got on my.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that's not helpful
Yeah.
for you guys, to be honest.
Marcus? Sure, we'll have some doubts.
Are you sitting comfortably? Sorry, yeah, so I mean, actually couldn't sound really all then, I'm still getting. I suppose the first question, I think my first question, and I think you touched on it, some of them are repeat offenders, so
Yeah.
say people in the same premises over the course of 4 or 5 years now.
Mhm.
Were any, but there was, I think it was on page 59, actually, I think we mentioned it. They were legally, were some legally entitled to be in the UK working?
Yes,
So,
specifically in 2024, 'cause I was the officer in charge of that one. The manager himself was fine. I believe there was another chef that was fine. But the reason I triggered it is because it was, you know, the proportionality of staff that we arrested. We had to sort of, the business decided to close because they had no staff.
And I think one of them was authorised to work, but only in a
The
specific
care,
sector.
right, yeah,
He was working in the sector outside.
yes,
He's permitted,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the skilled labour,
yes.
which obviously care working is skilled labour.
And he was the one, he was working upstairs, living upstairs as well.
Okay, I was frantically trying to remember the mandatory licence conditions, but if it was a newish licence, would CCTV have been conditional on their licence? Would it have had the,
Not as it would have been agreed with the police, I would imagine a CCTV condition.
it would have probably been the more comprehensive CCTV condition.
Yeah, we've got powers under section 47 to look through for evidence of illegal work, and that would massively have helped.
I don't know where to start with. So the situation we got one incident after the 5th, during this premises licence holder's tenure, so to speak, which was the 5th of September. That's obviously been veiled and deemed as correct, and we talked about the amount of fine. Has he still got leave to appeal, or was that the appeal process for that?
He can appeal it, and it's the same sort of principle as this really. So if he decides to appeal it and we want to fight it, we will take it to civil court. Actually.
So,
And I think there's strong evidence for that, to be honest. So I think I'd be representing it.
but we're in a situation where the previous company operating at the same premises, but obviously with the current premises license holder not involved whatsoever, you assume?
I had no involvement with him. In 2019, sorry, do you mean?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Right.
I wasn't working. at
Obviously,
the time, but-
he was given he was given a personal license and a premises license.
Yeah.
So we've got him now in charge. That's £180,000 fine. That would, I would think, just if that is valid and chased, that probably means you're in another position where the possibility is the same thing could happen again.
Potentially, there's different options. Obviously, they can pay via faster payment, so it then does reduce the amount. But given history, I'm not sure that would happen.
So then we get back to, well, it's in the guidance, isn't it? Practically can't find it in the guidance. And I think where I'm trying to, your significant concern, so what happens next? I think you've touched on that. What happens next to the people who are actually working there? Because obviously you say they've got, I presume it's asylum.
Not all of them, but there's a few of them, yeah, that have got outstanding applications, which will have no permission to work.
Which has no permission
Yeah.
to work. So what are they doing, living on £3 a day? £4 a day?
£7 a day,
Is it?
unless they receive a meal, but it's reduced to just over £1 a day.
Okay, no.
And just know that from recent.
And were there any not going through the asylum process?
A few of them, yeah.
So they were just.
So the ones in so in 2024, one of the males had an outstanding appeal. The other one also had an outstanding appeal. Three of them actually had an outstanding appeal, which is kind of the same principle. The other one was the skilled worker, which you mentioned earlier. And I believe he was dealt with discretion in terms of he had sort of plans to go back and sort of stay with his parents, I believe, from the interview or something like that. So we didn't detain in that instance, but we still included him on our referral notice because he has no right to work in that industry at all.
Okay, and you, in your quite comprehensive report, you said about the reasons and the issues that illegal working affects. I think we've got here repeat offender. Are we talking modern day slavery here?
I think people have different views of it. I think they have access to their own bank accounts. They have access to their own travel documents. They have access to phones and stuff like that. So actually, a lot of them, when we spoke to them, were more than happy to do it in terms of they thought it was a good deal. They were able to leave when they wanted to. It's just a case of, I think, from a minimum wage perspective, it's quite common. We see it a lot, that especially Indian restaurants where they are given accommodation and they are allowed to eat what they want and things like that. I think potentially the way around it is a lot of them say, well, I'm not working because I'm not getting paid for it. So I think a lot of the employees are either paid in cash or not with cash to avoid that route as well. They think it's not employment when it actually is, when you're doing a return for services and sort of.
And I noticed, I think I know someone that wanted to come on a family visa or visitor visa and just never got home, which was about 15 years ago or so. I think 2010. Have you got any of the people that were there? Have they come over by? I don't want to use the word by other illegal means.
No, to be honest, with all of them, they are either overstayers, so they would come over on visas and just overstay the visas.
But you obviously stand by the fact that people can overstay the visas and end up working where they're not entitled to, encourages more people to
Yes,
come.
yes,
And that's obviously there's evidence of
yes,
statistics.
very, very, very common, fortunately.
So we get back to, at the moment, this is the first time, although you're mentioning the three instances again and again, you're looking at premises licenses to review a premises license where actually is only one instance. So it would theoretically, if you looked at it, or some lawyer or some barrister was looking at it, they'd be saying, well, actually, it's just this offence, it's just one offence, where you maintain 3 offences. I don't understand why you're maintaining 3 offences, but in the cold light of day, it is only 1 offence. It's the latest, the 24th. But there's still significant concerns.
Yeah, I mean, especially when there's paperwork on site for workers that say they're not allowed to work, and in fact they've all admitted that the owner was aware and he just allowed them to work anyway.
So for clarification, you're saying he's been, they're employing, I'm going to use the word they, because they're employing people illegally, and there's paperwork on site that evidences the fact that they know they're illegal and shouldn't be working.
So one of the workers had paperwork, some bail paperwork, which in the accommodation, which said no right to work. Can't remember what page it's on. And then in all the employer interviews, a lot of them were saying, does he know, did you have to show any paperwork or any right to work documents to your employer? And none of them showed anything.
Is there any evidence, because the defence would be like, that's what the right word. Is there any evidence, apart from the statements, which I suppose there's enough of them, is there any statement that the employer, who we assume is the premises licence holder, is he legally the employer?
He's not the license holder. The one who I spoke to is Mohammed Mia, which is the manager on site, I suppose. But he was the one who was sort of admitting that he was giving people jobs.
And he's paying them,
Yes.
but not the premises licence holder.
Not that I remember him saying, no. So I'm looking in the Mohammed Mia section now of the license. You probably don't have the name, so
That's okay. We don't need to access.
Are we allowed to know the names or not?
I would say yes.
yeah.
So you are.
Well, which one's he then in this?
On page 15. It's interesting because in the interview, he the workers that's been found multiple times. He said he's been working at the premises for 4 years. So that would suggest going back to 2020, which is almost verging on potentially when the other visits were happening, so before the new license, which is 2021. So he said that he was working, he was employed by the previous director, Camilla, and he checked his right to work from his card, which said shortage of occupational lists only, which is clearly not in an Indian restaurant.
So, and has that, as Mohammed, and just get it so I can get it in my head. So these people actually, technically, there's no evidence that they're being paid by the premises licence holder, but the manager is working for the premises licence holder, and you've got evidence of, he officially is an employee of the premises licence holder, or the premises licence holder's company.
Yes, I do believe he identified himself as the business manager when he walked in, and the employees called him because he wasn't there initially when we went to the premises. One of the business, the waiters, I believe, called him, and he came across the road. I think he lives in one of the flats opposite.
What, the premises licence holder?
No, Mohammed Mia, the manager.
Perhaps interject. I think the problem we've got here is that we've got all this information about Mohammed Mia managing the business, but you're asking the committee to revoke the licence that belongs to Mr. Kalam. And there's a bit of a disjoin between what Mohammed Mia is doing and what Kalam is responsible for. Because it doesn't look like you've been able to say, yes, we've issued a fine to Mr. Kalam or to a company that Mr. Kalam was involved with. So what if we were in an appeal situation and Mr. Kalam said, I don't know what Mohammed Mia is doing, what would your response be to that?
From an immigration point of view, or from a license?
Well, I'm not expecting you to answer all that. From an immigration point of view.
The fact that we've never seen him.
Yeah.
I don't know, you probably know more about the DPS situation, but you've got to be on call, haven't you?
You should be readily available.
You should.
Yeah.
You should.
And he's never been ever found or spoken to on all occasions. So from that point of view.
Can I come back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has anyone ever met him? Does he exist?
I've never met him in person.
Can I throw something in here? I didn't know whether it was relevant at any point. We do have on the old Sedgemoor District Council records, a licensed Hackney carriage private hire driver and also a vehicle license holder of the name of Abul Kalam. Now, we've been unable to confirm it's the same Abul Kalam. However, I will say that the address on his taxi relevant applications correlate to a flat above a Indian takeaway in Highbridge. So it is very likely it is one and the same person, although I have not been able to confirm that. I kept that just here. We didn't put it in the
Yeah.
report. I thought if Mr. Kalam did turn up, I have seen Mr. Kalam as a taxi driver several years ago. I would probably recognise him if he turned up. So there is an Abul Kalam that I have seen, someone identifying themselves as Abul Kalam. Whether it is the same Abul Kalam, I can't confirm that.
Thank you.
Just for clarification again, for that, and under the guidance that as premises license holder, he should be appointed to DPS and be responsible for the everyday running of the business, but he is still ultimately responsible. And it's his business, as premises license holder, the buck stops with him.
Yes.
And
No, it's absolutely no, sorry, Mark says absolutely no. Because we did allude to earlier that he may not have been aware of what Mr. Mia, but that is his responsibility and it's still the buck stops with him, whether or not he says he's aware or not.
and who is being fined £180,000?
The business.
The business being a limited company.
Yes.
And is the license premises license holder director of that business?
Mars Catering Limited.
Miles Catering.
I imagine so. I can check. Don't
Doesn't necessarily have to be.
I think this is where it's kind of our suspicions are is that companies do Phoenix and then sort of put a new person to avoid the company's house, sort of, because of that fine in relation to the business. So I can quickly have a look on company's house if that helps.
I think it would help if we knew if Mr. Clan was a director of the company. Maybe.
I don't know if anyone's got a laptop.
Yeah.
Laptop, thank you.
Let's have a quick look. So is it the company still Miles Catering?
I
Yes,
believe so, yeah. No, it's not.
No, it's somebody else again. Okay.
Okay. So I suppose my final question is you say you don't do this lightly, and I'm sure we haven't had many license reviews for this reason. It'll probably be my first and last, because I don't think I can in 2 years' time. Yeah, absolutely public knowledge. And so from your point of view, and this is, I suppose, I don't want to say hearsay, but of course we're allowed to take hearsay into account, aren't we? From your point of view, this is a business that is repeat offending, closing down, coming back up again, same people in control somewhere along the line.
Yes.
The money's, you could follow the money, but you can't because most of it's cash.
Wow.
Okay. And so from that point of view, you feel the very minds to some, see it's the chamber to crack it. I actually think it's probably the other way around, actually. I think, you say there's no alternative now for true the license. But then I put here what happens next. And I thought what happens next to the workers, because obviously those workers, I assume, are they still working there?
That's the thing, so we can't, until we get more intelligence to say, because we're Intel base, I'd love to. But if someone did see them, for example, if they drove past, we would go again. So I don't know at this point if they're still there.
So then what happens next is we take the license of this company, the workers are still in the country, no one's doing anything with them, no one's dealing with that. We get a new company, then something next thing. In 2 weeks' time, we've got another premises license application for the same premises.
I don't know how that would work in terms of how you guys would deal with that, in terms of if someone was applying just constantly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Say something like that. I think just for clarification for like members and legal today, if for example you made a decision to revoke the license and all the activities, that doesn't necessarily mean the business has to cease trading. All that means is they can conduct their licensed activities, which is sell the hot food after 11 o'clock, have the background music, or supply the alcohol.
Yeah.
So you could still go in as a diner. If you wanted alcohol, bring your own. So they can still run a business from that side of it. If they felt that wasn't going to be viable for them, then somebody under another name may wish to make a fresh premises license application with a fresh DPS. However, knowing what's gone on here, there is a likelihood that there will probably be some sort of objection from somewhere, which would, rather than the license just being granted, it would come back to another subcommittee hearing.
But it would be, sorry to interject, but it would be very difficult to reject a new application if it's a different person, a different company.
But for example, if say the same members were sat on that panel deliberately, or whether you may want a totally fresh bunch of members, so they're not going to cloud their judgment or whatever.
No, but if it's me who held the
It is
original
there.
license and mine was revoked and then Brian wished to reapply for it.
Yeah.
You can't tar Brian with
No.
the same brush as me, can you?
Other people's past issues.
Yes,
That's the get out of jail for them.
yes. Okay. So,
So we revoke, just for clarification, we can revoke the license, as you just said. All it means is bring your own booze. That then puts the ball back into your court. So actually, we revoke the license. The only people we actually affect are the customers going to that business, although they are technically those customers going to that business. And I like your code as much as the next man, are actually supporting illegal immigration by going to that, and they're actually supporting people working illegally by going there. And if we take the license off them and in the meantime they switch to bring your own booze, that would happen. So all the customers of that business are inadvertently supporting what's going on there without actually realizing.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's just affecting the customers. I would say it would have an impact on the business. So
it's a business, because if they had to set up a new company, then they'd have to get new.
yeah, and that's not a guarantee. I mean,
Hard payments,
it's
but
likely, but it's not a guarantee. They might, if it is a new business owner, they might decide to fast pay the penalty. They might not.
What would the reduction be if they fast pay it? Because £108,000 would probably see off most small businesses,
It's,
all small businesses.
I'd have to check that, to be honest, but I think it's probably maybe like a third off or something like that. And
That's still,
it's still a significant amount.
still a significant fine.
The higher, so normally it would start at £45,000 per illegal worker. But because we've been to this business multiple times, they did up it. In that instance.
And just for clarity, although there's no documented evidence, your department or yourself, I suppose, is convinced there's a link between the three offences.
On each time,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. I think I don't like to be every hour or something.
I think what Mark says about people going to restaurants supporting the illegal immigration or exploitation is true, but on the other hand, if you buy anything off the
Yeah,
internet that's made in China, you could be supporting slave labour, exploitation of workers as well.
Yes,
Bangladesh or Canada or anywhere really.
just for clarification of the minutes, I'm coming from from modern day slavery.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, they could be living the life of Riley, but I suspect they're not.
Any more questions for the applicant? Anyone? Thank you very much. Sorry to give you a grilling.
it's all right.
I think it's quite healthy. There aren't any other persons to present their case. Okay. The clerk, the appellant, nobody from the business has turned up, so they can't present their case either. Okay, so we can't ask some questions. So we'll go around and do the summing up then, basically. So first of all, we'll ask you to sum up. So it's back to you. You don't have to say anything extra. It's only if you wish to do a quick summary of what you are asking.
I can do. I don't know if anyone will benefit from me doing it. I can do it again, but I think I've said everything quite a lot of
No,
time. That's also.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Licensing officer.
One question.
Yes.
Just to clarify, I mean, should a decision be made today to revoke the license?
Yes.
Or for perhaps legal advice, really, would that decision run over into revoke the personal license at the same time? as part of this hearing? Or would that have to be dealt with as a separate hearing? If they deemed
Sorry.
they wasn't fit and proper to hold the premises license, therefore the license was revoked. Does that mean
Oh,
by
the
default,
personal license.
does that mean by default, as part of this decision, the personal
Mm.
license be revoked as well?
Get back to you on that in writing.
That's a good question. Can I come back to you on that one later?
It's just.
We'll come
it's-
back.
Yeah,
it's before.
Good point, yeah.
Can I ask a question? I know we've got something up. Can I ask a question of,
Jess.
yes.
Sorry.
Not terrible. You've only asked for the premises license. You could, are you entitled to go after the personal license as well?
I don't believe so. I think we're
Good.
all linked to the actual business and the intel was specific to that business. So I don't think we would be able to, I don't know if that'd be more you mentioned earlier, but no, not from our aspect.
A personal license would more likely go just because of the conviction, which if
Yeah.
someone then had a conviction later on, that throws into doubt their
Mhm.
suitability. Although this wouldn't be a criminal conviction, it would be a decision based by a licensing authority to remove one license. However, they're still allowing other licenses issued by the same authority to carry on,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
seems a bit odd. Now that's why I did mention about the two taxi issues as well.
Mhm.
But as I said, I cannot guarantee it's one and the same person, so
No.
I don't want to drag that into it at this stage, but that may be something that could come back to a separate panel at a later date.
Licensing officer, licensing officer, would you like to sum up?
Yeah, so we're here today to decide whether we grant the application to revoke the premises licence with the evidence provided from the Home Office. We can either modify the conditions by way of altering, omitting or adding any new ones, or we can reject the application in whole or part.
And go through the written thing within 21 days. Written within 5 days.
So you want the
Yeah, we're
decision, yeah,
The decision will be advised within 5 working days.
Yeah.
and it's the right to appeal within.
Right to appeal within
Within
21
21
working days to the
days.
magistrates court.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good. That's good. Okay, so what happens next is we ask everyone to leave the room apart from ourselves and the legal officer. For us to come to a decision. We hopefully can come to a decision relatively quickly, or
Yeah.
not relatively, well, soon. And you're welcome to stay and wait for the decision. Or as I said before, if you don't want to wait, you will get written advice within the period. But I would imagine we'll be back within an hour.
Yeah, well, look at me.
Oh, definitely.
Always debate it.
It's, just looks like 10 to 11.
Thank you all for your time. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to go?
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming back. We've reached a decision, which, as I'm lazy, I'll ask Alex to read out.
Thank you. So this is the decision of the licensing subcommittee on the 27th of May, 2025. Following an application for review of the premises licence in respect of Spice Club 10A Eastover, Bridgewater, and made under section 51 of the Licensing Act. We've heard today from the licensing officer, Kate Trunks, and Jessica Sykes, the immigration officer from the Home Office Immigration Enforcement, in relation to the premises which is currently held, the premises license which is currently held by Mr. Abul Kalam, who is also the designated premises supervisor. It's noted Mr. Kalam has chosen not to attend today. This review application has been brought to the licensing subcommittee by the Home Office, acting as a responsible authority under section 13 of the Licensing Act 2003. The grounds for the review are that the premises licence holder has failed to promote the licensing objective of the prevention and crime and disorder by employing illegal workers at the premises. In their application, the Home Office stated that following receipt of intelligence, they visited the premises on 3 occasions between 2019 and 2024. Upon each visit, they encountered individuals working who, by reason of their immigration status, did not hold any right to work in the UK. As a result of the visits in June 2019 and October 2019, 30,000 civil penalties were issued to Mar Catering on each occasion for employing individuals who did not have the right to work. Both of these civil penalties remain unpaid as Mar Catering was dissolved in June 2021. Excuse me. A further visit was undertaken on the 5th of September 2024, and the referral for the civil penalty arising from this visit was under consideration at the time when the application was made. It is noted the current licence holder is Mr. Kalam, who has held the licence since July 2021, and therefore from the papers it was unclear what, if any, involvement he had had with the premises prior to this date. The Home Office has asked the licensing subcommittee consider revoking the premises licence. They're concerned that there has been deliberate and repeated disregard of the law. Further, that no corrective action has been taken despite multiple visits to the premises and issuing of penalties. Therefore, it is their submission that the imposition of conditions to the licence would be insufficient to act as a deterrent to the licence holder, and the premises will continue to be operated in a way that undermines the licensing objective of prevention and crime disorder. The licensing subcommittee is aware that its jurisdiction is to determine the application for review in accordance with the Licensing Act, the statutory guidance, and the Council's adopted statement of policy. When determining the application, the licensing subcommittee must consider any relevant representations and steps it takes and take steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, in this case, the prevention of crime and disorder. The licensing subcommittee has addressed the provisions of the Act which confer the powers on the licensing authority to deal with the application, the obligation to promote the licensing objectives, Section 4.9 of the Statement of Licensing Policy and the statutory guidance, and the statutory guidance preventing illegal working in licensed premises and the Home Office role. At today's hearing, the subcommittee has heard from the licensing. I've already said that, but apologies. I've written that twice. I won't say it twice. In the hearing, we've heard from Ms. Sykes, who has stated that the Immigration Service believes this is a premises which is repeatedly employing people who have no right to work in the UK. Of their 3 visits to the premises, they have found persons who have been seen before, including 4 males illegally working on 1 occasion and 1 is there on all 3 visits. They are aware that the premises licence holder was not involved at the premises prior to 2021 and does not appear to be a director of any of the companies involved in management. However, the premises licence holder has a responsibility to ensure the premises is run lawfully and legitimately. The Immigration Office have never seen him at the premises. The business manager at the premises has admitted to officers that he is aware that people are working there illegally, and staff who are employed, confirmed that the management are aware of their employment status. The Immigration Office has decided, following the previous visit in September last year, to award a further civil penalty, or issue a further civil penalty to the company which is trading on the premises. This is the 3rd penalty which has been issued against the business. The immigration officer has stated today that advice and warnings have been given, but nothing has been heeded, and she believes there is no option but to revoke the licence. The subcommittee is very aware the premises licence holder has not attended today's hearing, and therefore they are unable to consider his position. They are also aware there is no direct evidence of the premises licence holder being involved in the employment and management of illegal workers. Notwithstanding that, they are cognizant of the fact that responsibility for all matters relating to a licensed premises rests with the premises licence holder. He should be responsible for how the premises is managed and run. As designated premises supervisor, he should also be responsible for the sale of alcohol and the management of other licensed activities. Even were the premises licence holder unaware of what appears to have been happening at the premises prior to 2021, he should have been aware of the need to run the premises in accordance with current law and practice. Illegality that was taking place in 2019 appears, on the evidence from the Immigration Office, to have continued and been allowed to continue. No efforts appear to have been undertaken to even try and address a blatant disregard of the law. In accordance with the Licensing Act and the statutory guidance, the subcommittee considers that illegal working undermines the crime and disorder licensing objective. The subcommittee heeds and accepts the position from the immigration officer that advice and warnings given have been ineffective, and the business, and thereby the premises licence holder, shows no intention of changing their practices in order to conform with immigration law. On the evidence before it, having considered all the circumstances, the subcommittee determines the premises licence should be revoked with immediate effect on the grounds that illegal working has been consistently taking place at the premises, and the current premises licence holder has taken no steps to prevent it from happening. Parties are reminded there are rights of appeal against the licensing authority's decision. An appeal may be made to the Magistrates Court in England and Wales, and should be sent to the Magistrates Court in Taunton, and made within 21 days.
Thank you, Alex. I'm sure that was longer than what.
Well, yes, because I didn't read out all the introductory bits, please. You know that.
So that's the decision of the licensing committee, subcommittee, basically to revoke the license.
Okay.
Just to summarise in.
Yes.
I thank you all for attending today. I don't know how far you've had to come.
Not far.
Already.
Portishead, so
To
45 minutes is fine.
and so the subcommittee is now closed.